here. I hope you can hear me. I've got my phone kind of propped over here on the side. As you can see, I'm traveling. I was assigned, I had a meeting in Clarksville today that lasted a little longer than what I thought. So I am driving in from Clarksville. When I finish speaking to you, I will turn the camera off, but I will still be here listening and being able to answer questions. But I don't want you to get dizzy seeing all the stuff go by. We are going to end early tonight. We have a hard stop at 6:45, but we may end sooner than that, I'm told by the presenter. There is a big meeting down at the Cane Ridge Community Center, and it starts at 6:30 tonight. It's about the Historic Cemetery Survey community meeting. That's a meeting that I was trying to attend, but as you see, my meeting in Clarksville held that out some, so maybe I'll make the last of it. But I'm sure some of you may be trying to go to that as well. So we're going to hurry up with the presentation. As always, this is Jared Gray, and this has been before you before. I believe it's been some time back, but he is going to introduce his team, and he is going to make the presentation to you. This is not something that is a done deal by any sorts of it. This is something that we are asking for information from you. As always, your input, your expertise. You may see some things there that we haven't thought about, or that he hasn't thought about, or that we haven't brought it up before. He is very in tune with our area and the overcrowdedness and the infrastructure and those type of things. So that is not a surprise. Let me ask this very quickly, because I know there are things going on. Is there anybody on the line that is a candidate or from the mayor's office or anything that needs to introduce themselves? If so, please speak up.
No, ma'am.
All righty then. I guess we are about to get started. I am going to turn it over to Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray, I hope some of your team members will monitor the chat, as I will be driving and not able to look back and forth at the chat room or see hands up. So please have somebody monitor that. And if somebody is missed, then, you know, just politely interrupt so that he can hear your question. I will ask, as always, though, that we are careful and talk one-on-one so that everybody can hear, and we don't have anybody monopolize the conversation. But we do want to make sure that your input is heard. If you have some suggestions, that is heard. And near the end, if there is a lot more conversation, I do know that Mr. Gray said he was going to put this in. I guess he'll talk to you about it. He's going to put all of this in some kind of Google something so you all can go back and look at it later. And so if there is a chance to ask questions or put forth questions to him or give input to him, you can do that online as well, because I'm going to ask him to make sure he also puts his email on that. And so that if you give him specifics that this needs to be changed to or talked about, would you please just CC me at Lee4D33 as well, so I can see the things you wanted him to attend to. As always, I want to say thank you so very much to gorgeous Miss Roseanne, for setting this up for us. And Mr. Jarrett, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it over.
Ms. Lee, I very much appreciate that. Let me set a couple things up here. Okay, can everybody see a neighborhood discussion slide? Let me know if you do not see a neighborhood discussion slide. I'm Jared Gray. My company is Civil Design Consultants. We are the engineers and land planners for Marina Grove. This is the project that we are discussing tonight. I'm going to take just a brief few minutes to discuss the approval process, our review schedule. We're going to talk about the plan. Then I've got some time built in toward the end for comments. And what I would like to ask is that everyone, if you happen to have a comment as I am presenting, if you would note that, and whenever we get to that portion of the presentation, then at that point, we can go back through the slides. We can discuss, what your concerns are, or if you have questions for me. And at the end of the presentation, my contact information is on this PowerPoint, both my number as well as my email address. As was previously mentioned, I am recording the narration just as Ms. Hayes is for Metro. I will be posting this presentation with all of my remarks, specifically to the Google folder that has all the other information contained in this presentation. And that can be downloaded. Anyone with the link that will be included in this can download it anywhere in the world. So by all means, we want to hear concerns or comments and constructive ideas on how we can make this project the best for District 33 that we can make it. First off, the approval process. This particular project is going to be a specialized zone, otherwise known as an SP. The SP process is a process at which you, as the constituency of Miss Lee, and Miss Lee specifically, has a lot of input in, because you're getting that particular plan approved. It's a base zone of specialized, but once approved, whatever is approved, you have to build that plan. You can't really vary from it without going back through a reapproval process. So that's a great benefit specifically to an SP, and the only zone that permits that. It does require a public hearing at Planning Commission that issues a recommendation to council. Then it goes for 3 readings at council. The Planning Commission is a public hearing where you, if you live close by, will get a notification. You'll see a sign out front that indicates, okay, this is when the meeting will be held, etc. And then again, the second reading of council is another public hearing in which you can voice any opinions that you have to Planning Commission at the Planning Commission meeting and council at the council hearing. Again, the public notifications are required, as well as signage. And then specifically after that, the bill is written to be signed by the mayor, that then at that point, that SP is valid. And it is not valid until that completely goes through. Now, we're not completely done even after the SP is signed. We have to submit a final SP plan that is administratively reviewed. And then we could, only after the final SP is approved with all the technical issues, shown on the plan and permitted, can they begin construction. Along with that, we will also have a final plat, because we have some residential component as well as a commercial component to dictate the lots, etc. So it is a multi-step process to get things approved. I wanted to show just the existing conditions, and that's what you're seeing on the screen now. The current project zoning is RS10. We are in a T3 land use area, but its zoning currently is residential, single family, 10,000 square foot minimum lots. And that's what by zone we're allowed to do currently. You can see here the project is undeveloped at this time. and it is relatively flat relative to the contours, etc. I wanted to just show our lot is right here. If you can see my cursor, and I hope you can see the arrow there, it is just to the north of the red block, which is the Dollar General store and the vape store, I believe, the smoke shop, and there might even be a restaurant. It is the lot immediately adjacent to it, and it is adjoining the lot to the north of our lot is the Resurrection Church project that I believe is currently under construction. Again, that's just a closer look. If you can see there, we do have a tree row here. We have a TVA line that is coming through there as well, but it is not heavily treed. It is not fully forested or anything like that. We do have some undergrowth, but overall that is the current lot in its current state. This is a street view. Just to the right of that particular picture will be the Dollar General store. And again, to the left is where they are clearing for the church to be built. This is Hobson Pike looking onto the front of our property. From a standpoint of what we are looking at doing from single family attached, in the back, I wanted to show some representative examples. Now, we're not necessarily completely hung up on any particular, so I'm showing you several different schematics. I want to hear from you all as to specifically what we are looking to do. I will tell you that there will be no vinyl siding. We would specifically use stone, hardy, brick, those type of materials. There's no vinyl on this whatsoever, and it, we would be looking to build a quality product. All of these individual units would also be individually owned. We're not looking to work with a rental company or anything like that. Specifically, we looked at doing some single family attached that has garages. And again, I'm not a fan of these doors. You guys might be, but again, they would have a single car garage. These are 2-story structures. This is just an idea. We would have a dormer there more than likely at the end of the day. But again, this is a representative example. This is the schematic I think that is the most favored by my clients specifically, and for the single family attached scenario with the garages. You can see the garages here. These are full 2 stories with dormers. We would anticipate, obviously, the price is market driven. And from that standpoint, we would anticipate, prices commensurate with the individual market conditions. I would anticipate them to be upper 3s at this time. Again, you can see the rear, the left, and the front. Obviously, again, we're not looking at vinyl or anything like that. This has a heavy, hardy plank on the back, board and batten, and stone and shake on the front. In the front of our project, we do show some commercial buildings. The commercial architect that we have utilized for our concept plans is H. Michael Heineman Architects. He has done a tremendous amount of work in Cool Springs. He's probably designed Thoroughbred Square, etc., about 80% of all the buildings there in Thoroughbred Square, Thoroughbred Village, etc. Those are all H. Michael Hyman architect buildings. So that gives you an idea. what he's done in Cool Springs is what he's looking to bring to this particular development in the front area. So these again are conceptual, um, and in those specific areas, you can see what we're looking at with respect to, again, utilizing rock, hardy, etc. This is our layout plan. We show a total of 52 single family attached and a total of 18,340 square foot of commercial. Commercial is in the front. We have single family in the back. And those particular things are, what we are looking at there with respect to our layout. One of the things that Miss Lee has brought up, and I think is very, very important, is traffic calming measures, because as you can tell, this roadway is just a straight shot. We agree with that. We will work with NDOT specifically relative to our traffic flow areas, etc., on that in order to introduce some traffic calming features so that we don't just have a straightaway here. Now, relative to traffic on Hobson Pike, we have preliminarily looked at the traffic level of service, and our development is designed in such a way that it would not overly impact the level of service for Hobson Pike. We would continue to look at traffic impacts throughout. Uh, if there is a desire to introduce a turning lane or something that it would be required based upon our overall numbers, then obviously we will have to do that. This particular community is walkable with sidewalks on both sides, a grass strip behind the curbing. The mix of the retail is basically dependent upon the parking. We would definitely comply with the parking requirements, which means we can't just pack in, um, a bunch of restaurants here. We are planning something, maybe a coffee shop, something like that. But we will have a mix of uses in the retail. So for retail components, we would need some office in that for our parking to work out. And so the parking, for office, you don't have to have as many spaces, obviously, as you would for a fast food restaurant. And we're thinking dentist offices, um, insurance companies, perhaps a vet, that kind of thing in regards to uses. There has been some discussion because, as I recall from attending the community meetings, the church that is, being built adjoining us, there was some desire to have access to a community center type leasable space for things such as receptions, anniversary parties, that kind of thing. And there has been some thought put into this building specifically here, which is again adjoining the commercial there with the smoke shop and Dollar General, of making that an event type center. Um, so that's that's a nice thing about the SPs is we can state in the SP what is allowed and what is not allowed. And so those are the kind of things that we would be looking to the constituency to give us some feedback on those particular items. Specifics, proposal will be mixed use with office and retail, perhaps a small coffee shop. We will be using, again, masonry, brick, hardy board, board and batten, and stone. They will be privately owned, again, for the residential components there. Landscape buffering. We will be required to place landscape buffers around the perimeter of our property. Again, it's a specialized zone. We would fully comply with that. And again, from a walkable community standpoint, we would connect the sidewalk along Hobson that is being required by the church whenever they build theirs. It would just be an extension of that particular sidewalk. And then internal to our site, we have full sidewalks on both sides of the road, et cetera, leading throughout the entire development. And that is pretty much the quick synopsis, and I'm sorry for flying through this so quickly, but now is a great time for everyone to give us your comments, questions, etc. And if we can just unmute your mic and ask the questions, I would be happy to hopefully answer any questions that you may have.
Jared, I have some questions about the commercial part. I thought I heard you
Yes,
say
ma'am.
something about a Dollar General and a smoke shop.
Those
do
are
you have,
existing.
go
Those
ahead.
are existing immediately to the south of our parcel. They are already there.
Correct. So do you have anybody in mind or anybody who has looked at or approached you so that you know what type of commercial? Because usually what happens is you have a part commercial and then you just wait to see who bites, and that's what you take.
Well, Miss Lee, to answer your question, that is you are correct in the fact that we would be building a warm dark box, a speculative building. However, we will be very limited with respect to square footages because, again, of our parking and being in full compliance of our zoning. We would be anticipatory of labeling the uses. Now, specifically relative to specific companies, letters of intent have not been signed to answer your question directly. However, with the SP, we would be prepared to note the uses that we would not be permitting. And with our plan, we will be noting the square footages with the uses that we would be permitting on the SP. So that would be a part of the plan that is approved. And if it's not on the SP as a disallowed use, then, at that point, it has to fit within what is allowed and the square footage. Once we hit that, unfortunately, we can't go over it because we can't park it.
Okay, I think I saw something jump up on my phone right quick. So you may have a bunch of stuff in the chat room. You may want to check.
I saw a couple of notifications. If the individual who were go ahead and ask the question, if you would, in court minimum glazing much higher than Metro. Okay, I see a blip and then it goes away. So if there's an individual that would like to, what would your standards be? The standards that we have typically used for this SP specifically related to the commercial, which is what I'm would imagine he's referring to standards. We are using the same standards that we used for the buildings in Cool Springs and Franklin, which are greater from a glazing standpoint, windows, etc., than what is they're greater standards than what is permitted in Metro. So that's a good thing. With respect to the residential component, we would be following Metro's standard building codes throughout the entire process, obviously.
Hi, I have a question. This is Emily. I live in the immediate area. Is there a reason why retail is being considered for this project instead of just a residential neighborhood?
Well, to answer your question directly, we thought that it would be welcomed and honestly sorely needed for that area. This particular plan and the fact that we are a T3 NC or neighborhood commercial for just this front section um, allows for retail. There are no real opportunities for a small business owner, a dentist, a emergency care clinic, a coffee shop, etc., specifically in this area. And that is something that we felt like we could definitely help with on this parcel. It makes sense from our standpoint, being surrounded by the churches. We have a church directly across from us. And again, it's something that we saw a need in the community for, and wanted to help with that.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, John.
Great. Just so that I don't see, I was so glad that we do have an actual neighbor on the call because I'm not seeing much in the way of community participation. And I don't, whether that's because we are still having difficulty promoting these meetings or what's going on, but since it is being recorded, I'd like to go on record to explain to that nice neighbor who is on this call tonight how this came about. The policy, which I don't think policy is that which Metro would allow to be put on there, used to be residential. That parcel, the parcel that now is where the church is, as well as the parcel behind the gas station, behind Dollar General. Then the planning department came out to the community and had a number of meetings to change that policy to a more commercial policy. And during those meetings, the residents were willing to consider it if the standards that they had were put into place in the developments. That ended up not happening, yet the planning commission changed what people could do on that property by themselves. And neither our elected representative or planning commissioners listened to the community. So that is why this property that I think is RS10, is that correct, Jared?
It is currently base zoned RS10. That is correct.
Okay, so this property, and I think the property behind it was both RS10, and which means that it would just be residential, single family homes. They had to be sited on a 10,000 square foot piece of property as a minimum. Now that the planning commission, in league with our council member, changed it to commercial, these proposals all of a sudden become realistic, and folks can come and make money putting commercial and higher density residential into your neighborhood. I think the stone has been cast, and likely the only thing we can do at this point is to try and get the best looking buildings and the best type of development that we can possibly get for a neighborhood commercial
So,
center.
excuse me a minute, John. Let me jump in right quick because there may be some people on here that did not know. And as you were saying, the council person changed it to commercial. I have not changed it to commercial, so I'm thinking, and I don't know which
No.
one. Yeah, I don't know which one
You're,
when that happened.
yeah, no, you're correct. You have not yet changed it to commercial, but you changed the property next to it to a office designated zoning without adequate standards or the restrictive covenants that you promised us the church would be forthcoming with, which 8 months later they haven't. Who would have guessed that?
Okay,
But
so that is
you have
something
put
then.
this property, you have helped to put this property into commercial zoning possibility. It's not
Okay,
commercial
so
yet.
let's go back and talk about what the one that Jared is bringing up now. And with some new people on here, what I will say that if there is a problem with things that the church should have done, which is going towards another property that we did have meetings on, and so that was not something that I automatically said, let's go. People at the meetings were like, okay, if
No,
they're
they
keeping on,
weren't. You're yeah, I'm
okay,
sorry.
excuse me, John, let me finish, please. Thank you.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
let us go.
I'm
So
gonna
if there
go.
is something that I need to go back to the church to say this was supposed to be put forth and it wasn't, then I don't mind doing that if people come to me to say that. But now going back to the one that we are discussing tonight, because it is going to, we're not going to go all the way to 7 o'clock. The purpose of it is there's nothing that is being discussed tonight that is done. So in the conversations that you all are having, like if you did not want that front part commercial, at one time, that's what people wanted. They wanted part of it so you could have coffee shops and ice cream shops and things like that. If that is not what the community wants now, then that is something else that we will have a discussion about. So this whole thing is for you to go ahead, and even if you're new on here, it does not matter. Please go ahead and stress your opinions about this particular one, about what you want to see, and what you don't want to see. And that's what we are taking in the conversation and taking forth or not taking forth.
And that's the beauty of the SP, because Miss Lee, Councilwoman Lee, is correct in the fact that the SP is the plan is what is being approved, not necessarily the zone. Everything has to work together, but the just because the community plan says you can have commercial there, if that's not what the constituency wants, then obviously that's something that we work in on the SP. We felt like, as from a land planning perspective, from the studies that were done with the church and the community plan amendment, that it did make sense. So again, John, I appreciate your comment very much.
And if there are some other people that want to comment, please go ahead and do that and let us hear you. And especially if you are new on here too, and you have some things that you would like to see or not like to see or want to know why, please let us hear from you, because we like to have a diverse conversation.
Absolutely. Does anyone want to see a specific slide again? Of the representative elevations, which one is favored among those on the call tonight?
Can you show the elevations again, please?
You should see,
Oh,
this is
oh,
one
I
elevation.
see them now.
I'm sorry, can you see them? Okay, what you're looking at is a single family attached with garage elevation. These are bump outs. It's not as pretty as some of the others because this is more of a true plan, if you will, but it shows all the back, the front, and the sides of the buildings, etc. It's not a flat building. You can see the relief here, some what we call bump outs, etc. Again, this is shake. This is board and batten. This is brick shown here. If that helps, you can see the dormers. This would be the preferred elevation, I think, for the single family attached that we are presenting tonight. But that's one option. This is another option. Again, I do not have a rear or a side view of this one. But again, we could add a dormer here, and these are 2-story buildings with on the back side. It's got a steep roof on the front. Bear with me. And this is the other option that we have. Again, that is very more similar to the option that I just showed you. That was the preferred option there. Again, they're bump outs. We don't have it. It's not just a flat front building, etc. And you can also see the varying elevations. We wouldn't just be utilizing the same elevation for each structure. We will vary those up. So again, it doesn't look cookie cutter, if you will. It's got a more custom look to it. These buildings will, from a size standpoint, vary, but they will run between 1,900 and up to about 2,400 square feet.
This last slide that you're showing, are those backload garages, or you're just giving us an example of how it'll be different?
This particular design does not show garages.
Okay.
They do not have backloaded garages on these designs. No. On this particular one, it does not. This one obviously has the garages here. I hope you can see my cursor moving there. And obviously here, each one of these are garages. Also, another important thing, we have designed this so that from a garage standpoint, we would be able to park a vehicle outside of the garage, and that vehicle be not hanging over the sidewalk, if you will, because if their garage is like my garage, it fills up with stuff and people don't park in them many times. So we do take that into account whenever we look at a design. So we would be doing that in this particular case.
Just to let you know, this will not be the last meeting on this. There will be another one. You all should have been all of the information for here should. If you have some killer like send them back to that address where you received the notice of the meeting and you received these. Ms. Roseanne will put them together and then I can see what they are. Or you can just email them to me at lee4d33@gmail and I will put them together and we will look at those and see what type of things you have. I do understand that I'm cutting this meeting off just a little shorter because of another important meeting going on at Cane Ridge Community Center. And if you are in that area, I would hope that you would go ahead and attend that meeting because it is a very important meeting, cemetery survey, and give you a lot of good knowledge about things. There will be no community meetings in July so that we'll have time to put this information together. Do I have anybody else who had not made a comment that maybe needs to say something so that that can put out? I believe the Jared's email and information is also out in the chat room. I know this was a short meeting. Any more comments or questions? Please feel free if you like this, something you saw, you didn't like something you saw, want something you saw, you don't want something you saw, whatever, email that to us, and you can just have the copy put on the same one that sent the notice to you so that we can collect them. And I'm asking Ms. Roseanne to collect those so we can put it all together and have that. If we need to send those questions, put them together and send them back to you all so you can see them before the next meeting on this. That may be something we can do too. But remember, if you need to see this again, Jared, where were you putting this out?
I will be putting this on the Google Drive. I will be sending a link that this particular link is good anywhere in the world. Just forward that to whomever you would like to see. And specifically, this presentation with my voice will be specifically a part of that. I do not know if it is recording the questions from others or Ms. Lee, your comments. But I do know that it does record everything that I am saying specifically on this particular presentation. So again, I appreciate everybody as well, and my contact information should be showing up on everybody's screen. Spread that particular link around, and let's make this project the best for the citizens of District 33 that it can be.
Okay. And to let you know, Ms. Roseanne also puts this up too. I think it's on our YouTube place. Ms. Roseanne, I don't know if you're there where you can hear where do you usually also put this if people need to look at it again?
It's on YouTube under.
Go ahead, YouTube under
District 33 community meeting.
YouTube under District 33.
It'll say District 33 community meeting. If you have any problems finding it, just let me know and I'll be glad to send you the link.
Okay, great. That might be easier for them as well.
And sometimes it can be difficult.
But she's wonderful at getting stuff back to you and trying to help you get through. If you need to do that, just reach out to her. And if there's something else that we need to attend to, I know some people really, really like to antagonize folks and try to make it look like everything that they are doing is wrong. But if you have some specific things that you need to be looked at or something, please let me know. And I'll do my best to try to see what needs to be done and what we can do. And it is 6:45. I said we were going to close then. I hope you all have a blessed afternoon. And any of you that are able, I really, really hope that you go to that meeting at the Cane Ridge Community Center about the cemetery survey. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for coming on. Bye-bye, everyone.